What do you do when the woman you wanted is with another man? Most men collapse, they chase, they beg, or they lose all control. But here's the truth. The way you respond in this moment decides whether you rise as a man of value or shrink into someone forgettable. This is where your real test begins. Step 1. Detach from emotional desperation. When a woman is with another man, the first instinct many men fall into is desperation. It's a raw emotional pull that makes you want to prove yourself, to fight for her attention, to beg her to reconsider. But desperation is never attractive. It exposes a lack of control. It shows that your entire sense of self-worth is tied to her choice, and it makes you look like someone who cannot exist without her validation. The reality is, if you allow desperation to control you, you lose before you even begin. Women instinctively know when a man has lost his center. They sense when his emotions are dictating his moves, and that instantly destroys the very essence of masculine presence she once may have been drawn to. Detachment, on the other hand, is the posture of strength. It communicates that you are whole with or without her, and that you refuse to let her actions dictate your value. Detaching from emotional desperation doesn't mean you stop caring, and it doesn't mean you act cold or bitter. It means you rise above the urge to compete, plead, or chase in a way that undermines your dignity. You need to understand that relationships are not won through begging, but through value. If she has chosen another man, your responsibility is not to fight him. It is to fight the weakness inside you that wants to collapse. Emotional desperation is a signal that your focus is misplaced. Instead of directing energy towards someone who has already chosen differently, your focus must return to yourself. The man who learns to detach is the man who gains back his composure, his clarity, and his authority over his own emotions. When you detach, you reclaim power. Think about this. Desperation gives all the power away. It tells her that her decision defines your entire state of being. Detachment, however, communicates that your foundation is unshaken. This difference changes everything. Women test men constantly, not always intentionally, but through their actions and decisions. And nothing speaks louder than how you respond when she turns her attention elsewhere. If your reaction is desperate, you validate her decision to leave. If your reaction is calm, controlled, and detached, you plant a seed of doubt in her mind. She starts to question if she underestimated you, if she misjudged your strength, if she was too quick to assume she could easily walk away without losing something valuable. Detachment also protects your mental and emotional health. Emotional desperation keeps you stuck in cycles of comparison and self-blame. You keep replaying questions in your head. Why him? What does he have that I don't? These questions weaken you because they frame you as a man begging for worth. Detachment frees you from that trap. You stop comparing, you stop chasing ghosts, and you stop feeding an illusion of control. Instead, you focus on self-mastery. You invest your energy into things that cannot be taken away from you. Your purpose, your growth, your discipline, your presence. This shift transforms you into a man whose life cannot be shaken by who a woman chooses, because your identity is built on stronger ground. The truth is, desperation always repels and detachment always attracts. Even if she never comes back, you emerge stronger, calmer, and more respected. And if she does notice your detachment, it stirs curiosity, because women are magnetically drawn to the man who refuses to collapse over them. Detachment isn't just a response. It's a declaration of who you are and of the unshakable value you bring into any relationship. Step 2. Guard your masculine value. Guarding your masculine value means refusing to let anyone, especially a woman who has chosen another man, dictate how you see yourself. Too many men give away their power by treating a woman's approval as the ultimate measure of their worth. When she is with someone else, they immediately begin to question everything about themselves. They start comparing, competing, and doubting. This weakens their presence because it shows that their sense of identity is fragile and dependent on her decisions. A man who understands his masculine value knows that his worth is not tied to whether a woman stays or leaves. It is rooted in the discipline, the character, and the standards he builds for himself. When you guard your masculine value, you set clear boundaries around how you allow yourself to be treated. You don't accept disrespect, you don't settle for being a backup option, and you don't lower your standards just to keep her interested. Many men mistakenly believe that if they just try harder, sacrifice more, or give her constant attention, she will realize what she is missing. But this mindset only cheapens you in her eyes. It shows her that you are willing to trade your dignity for her approval. Guarding your value means you refuse to beg or chase, because deep down you know that your worth is already established, with or without her recognition. The strength of a man is not in how much he gives away to be chosen, but in how much he preserves to remain respected. Masculine value is built on self-control, purpose, and independence. If you are easily swayed by a woman's choices, you signal that your foundation is weak. Women are naturally drawn to the man whose value is guarded because he carries himself as someone who cannot be replaced. He does not compete with another man for her attention because he understands that competing already lowers his status. Instead, he communicates silently through his composure and his actions that he is the prize. He knows that his presence is rare, his discipline is uncommon, and his ability to lead himself is the ultimate measure of strength. Guarding your masculine value also means protecting your energy. Relationships require investment, but not at the cost of your self-respect. When you pour your energy into proving yourself to someone who has chosen another path, you waste the very resources that should be fueling your growth. A man who guards his value understands that energy is currency. He invests it into his goals, his health, his work, and his vision for the future. By doing so, he creates a life so strong and fulfilling that he does not need validation from anyone. This independence makes him even more attractive because a man who is whole on his own is far more powerful than a man begging to be completed by someone else. At its core, guarding your masculine value is about refusing to allow external circumstances to shake the way you see yourself. It is about carrying the weight of your own worth with such conviction that no rejection, no competition, and no woman's decision can strip you of your identity. This mindset creates respect, and respect always outlasts desire. The man who guards his value is the man who remains untouchable, no matter who comes or goes from his life. Step 3, shift focus to self-mastery. When a woman chooses another man, the natural reaction for many men is to put all their attention on her decision. They obsess over her, replay scenarios in their head, and wonder endlessly what went wrong. This fixation keeps them trapped in a cycle of weakness because their energy is tied to something they cannot control. The truth is, no amount of chasing, analyzing, or competing will bring her back in a way that restores your dignity. What actually shifts the dynamic, both internally and externally, is redirecting your focus away from her and toward yourself. Self-mastery is the foundation of masculine strength. It is the process of disciplining your mind, body, and spirit so that you become a man who commands respect naturally, regardless of who stands beside you. Self-mastery begins with emotional control. When a man loses himself in anger, jealousy, or desperation, he communicates that he is not grounded. A woman who sees this will never trust his strength because his emotions dominate him. But when you take the time to master your emotions, you rise above reactionary behavior. You learn how to observe your feelings without letting them dictate your actions. This creates calmness, clarity, and presence, which are all deeply attractive qualities. A man who has mastered himself emotionally does not need to prove anything because his composure already speaks for him. Beyond emotional control, self-mastery involves developing your physical presence. The way you take care of your body reflects the way you view yourself. Discipline in health, fitness, and appearance is not about vanity. It is about demonstrating respect for yourself. A strong, disciplined body communicates to the world that you are capable of endurance, resilience, and control. When you build yourself physically, you are not just shaping your appearance, you are reinforcing the mindset that you are a man who follows through, who invests in himself, and who refuses to be passive about his life. Self-mastery also extends to your purpose. Too many men lose themselves in relationships because they make a woman the center of their world. When she leaves, they collapse because they have no vision beyond her. A man of mastery, however, has direction. He is building something larger than any relationship, whether it's his career, his craft, his mission, or his legacy. This gives him unshakable stability because he always has something meaningful to return to. Women are drawn to men who live with vision, not because he needs her to validate him, but because his life already has depth and momentum. Shifting focus to self-mastery transforms the way you carry yourself. You stop being the man who reacts to a woman's decisions, and you become the man who sets the tone for his own life. Instead of chasing, you attract. Instead of begging, you command respect through presence. Self-mastery is not about proving to her that you are valuable. It is about becoming so disciplined, so centered, and so purposeful that her choices no longer define you. This is what makes a man magnetic. The ability to rise above distraction, to build himself into someone unshakable, and to embody strength that cannot be ignored. Step 4, control the narrative of respect. Respect is not something you beg for. It is something you establish and protect through your actions, your silence, and your boundaries. When a woman chooses another man, the biggest mistake most men make is trying to argue their value or convince her that she made the wrong choice. They plead, they explain, they demand answers, and in doing so, they hand away the very respect they are trying to secure. What they don't realize is that respect is not created through words. It is created through the narrative you live by. Every action you take communicates who you are, and when you lose control of that, you lose control of how others perceive you. Controlling the narrative of respect means refusing to let desperation, anger, or insecurity tell your story for you. It means making deliberate choices that protect your dignity even in the face of rejection. One of the most powerful tools in controlling respect is silence. When she is with another man, your silence speaks far louder than any emotional outburst ever could. It tells her that you are not shaken, you are not competing, and you are not desperate for her attention. Silence removes the drama and prevents her from seeing you as reactive or weak. Instead, it places you in the position of calm authority, a man who chooses when and how to engage. A woman may test you to see if you will collapse, but when your silence shows composure, it shifts the power back to you. You are no longer the man begging for her approval. You are the man who values himself enough not to explain or chase. Boundaries are another critical part of controlling respect. Too many men blur their lines just to stay close to a woman who has chosen someone else. They accept being treated as an option. They tolerate disrespect, and they allow her to keep them on standby. But every time you accept less than you deserve, you weaken the respect she once had for you. Boundaries make it clear that you will not lower yourself for scraps of attention. They show that your time, your energy, and your presence are valuable, and not everyone has unlimited access to them. A man who enforces boundaries without apology demonstrates a level of self-worth that no one can ignore. Controlling the narrative of respect also means managing your emotions in public and private. If you fall into jealousy, gossip, or bitterness, you tell the world that you lack discipline. But when you handle the situation with calmness and self-control, you create an image of strength that remains intact regardless of the circumstances. People respect the man who holds himself with dignity even when things don't go his way. Women in particular are drawn to the man who does not let rejection destroy his composure, because it shows that his confidence is rooted in something deeper than external validation. Respect is not about forcing others to acknowledge your value. It is about living in a way that leaves no room for doubt. When you control the narrative of respect, you stop being defined by her choices and start being defined by your standards. You show through your silence, your boundaries, and your discipline that you are a man who cannot be diminished, a man who carries his value regardless of who stands beside him. This is what makes respect lasting, because it is no longer dependent on her perception. It is built into the way you carry yourself at all times. Step 5. Let attraction work naturally. Attraction is never something you can force. The moment you try to chase it, manipulate it, or pressure it, you destroy it. When a woman chooses another man, most men fall into the trap of trying to win her back through effort, by over-explaining, proving themselves, or showing her how much better they are. But attraction doesn't respond to logic or effort. It responds to energy, presence, and the way you carry yourself. If you truly want to stand out in her mind, you must learn to let attraction unfold on its own, without forcing the outcome. This requires patience, composure, and the confidence to step back instead of pushing forward. Letting attraction work naturally starts with detachment. When you stop obsessing over her, you release the tension that repels her. People can feel when they are being chased, and it often suffocates them. But when you are calm, centered, and focused on your own life, she begins to notice. The absence of desperation creates space for curiosity. She starts to wonder why you are not reacting the way most men would, why you are not begging, why you are not fighting for her. That curiosity is the seed of attraction. It comes not from anything you tell her, but from the way your silence and composure contradict her expectations. Another part of allowing attraction to grow naturally is embodying strength in your daily life. Women are drawn to men who live with purpose, who carry themselves with direction, and who are grounded no matter what happens. If you are always reacting to her, you communicate that she controls your emotional state. But if you stay focused on your goals, disciplined in your habits, and confident in your path, you radiate a sense of stability. That stability is magnetic because it is rare. Most men collapse when a woman pulls away, but the man who continues to stand tall captures attention without even trying. Attraction isn't about the words you say, it's about the energy you project when you don't need to say anything at all. Patience is another key factor. Many men sabotage themselves because they rush the process. They want immediate results, instant validation, quick proof that she still cares. But attraction doesn't work on your timeline. It builds in silence, in absence, in the spaces where curiosity has time to grow. If you can resist the urge to act out of impatience, you create room for her to come to her own realizations. That is far more powerful than trying to convince her through arguments or gestures. When attraction comes back naturally, it is stronger because it is her choice, not something you tried to manufacture. Letting attraction work naturally means trusting that your value speaks louder than anything else. It means believing that your presence, your growth, and your composure will create the right kind of impact without you having to force it. Women remember the man who remained calm, who didn't collapse, who lived with direction no matter what happened. That memory plants itself in her mind, and over time it is often the quiet strength of that image that draws her back with more intensity than anything you could have said or done to chase her. Step 6. Choose leadership over reaction. When a woman is with another man, most men instinctively slip into reaction mode. They get emotional, confrontational, or even competitive, thinking that by showing intensity, they will somehow change her decision. But reacting is the easiest thing in the world. It requires no strength, no discipline, and no foresight. Leadership, on the other hand, is rare. It means holding your ground, directing your life with clarity, and refusing to let her choices dictate your behavior. A man who reacts is a man who shows he is being controlled. A man who leads is a man who shows he is in control, not just of the situation, but of himself. Leadership starts with vision. A man who has no vision beyond the woman he desires will always react to her movements because she has become the center of his world. When she looks elsewhere, he crumbles. But a man of leadership already has a path laid out, a purpose bigger than any relationship. When she sees that his life doesn't pause because of her decisions, it communicates that he is not a follower of her choices, but the leader of his own destiny. This makes him magnetic because women instinctively respect a man who knows where he is going and refuses to be derailed. Leadership also means emotional discipline. To lead yourself, you must master your reactions. Anger, jealousy, and desperation may be natural feelings, but if you let them control your actions, you reveal weakness. A man of leadership acknowledges those emotions but does not allow them to dictate his moves. Instead, he acts with strategy, with patience, and with calmness. This self-control sets him apart because most men collapse under emotional weight. A woman may not always articulate it, but she is drawn to the man who remains unshaken under pressure because it communicates security and strength. Choosing leadership over reaction also involves setting the tone in how you engage with others. If you respond to her decision with bitterness, gossip, or hostility, you show that she still controls your state of mind. But if you maintain composure, treat her with basic respect, and continue leading your life with confidence, you communicate something far more powerful, that you cannot be moved from your position of strength. Leadership is not about ignoring her or pretending she doesn't matter. It is about making sure your actions are aligned with your standards rather than your impulses. At its core, leadership is about direction. It's about showing that you decide where your life goes, not her, not another man, not anyone else. This doesn't just affect how she sees you, it affects how the world sees you, and more importantly, how you see yourself. Every time you choose to lead instead of react, you reinforce your identity as a man who stands tall no matter the circumstances. That kind of presence is unforgettable because while reactions fade quickly, leadership leaves a lasting impression that commands respect and builds attraction without you ever needing to force it. At the end of the day, a woman choosing another man is not the end of your story. It's the test of your strength. How you respond decides whether you weaken yourself or rise into a man of unshakable value. Detach from desperation, guard your worth, shift your focus to mastery, control the respect you command, allow attraction to work in its own time, and most importantly, choose leadership over reaction. The world doesn't respect the man who collapses when tested. It respects the man who stands taller, calmer, and more powerful when everything seems against him. This is your chance to show not just her, but yourself, the true depth of who you are.